invite Sheila up before we get started. She is the brains behind having us here. We met at the ice show. She's like, do you want to teach in our really, really pretty showroom in Irvine? I sure do.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sheila Crowder with Takara Belmont. I just wanted to welcome you all here to our Irvine showroom. We are Takara Belmont. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the brand, but we've been around for 100 years. Based in Osaka, Japan. We have 27 showrooms across the country worldwide. We are known for our barber chairs and styling chairs. We also do dental, medical, and construction equipment as well. But our equipment is top of the line, best in the industry, very well known. So if you guys have any questions about any of the products, we're here to help you. And please help promote us, because that's why we thought it would be great to get together, kind of cross brand and bring more brand awareness to everyone now that we're not really doing trade shows as often and the world has gone so digital. So to bring everyone back to a showroom and kind of have that one-on-one experience and really teach you guys about the traditions of Takara Belmont and the history of the equipment. The equipment is built to last and really next level. So if you guys have any questions, we're here, and the restrooms are in the back left corner. If anyone needs anything, don't or feel free to reach out to myself or Julie. We'll be here to help you guys all day. So best of luck. I'm so excited to see this.
Thanks, sir. I can't believe we actually made it happen, huh?
I know.
We're like, we threatened this.
I know, but here we are.
Here we are.
Here we are. So I'll let you guys go run with it. Thank you so much, guys.
All right. So, hi, I'm Janine Jarman. I am the founder of Curl Cult. Yeah, I'm the weird girl that is obsessed with perms and everyone else hated them. I love them even more than I did before, and I've always loved them. I'll give you a little bit of, first of all, who's perming? Let's get that out of the way. All right. Who's like, weird. I'm gonna go to a perm class. This is weird. Okay, cool. Welcome. So yeah, why did I launch a perm? Right. Well, I was leaning into perms for the last few years. I was somebody that was always comfortable with it. And I kept leaning into it as a way to problem solve for my clients. So it wasn't like, I didn't have anybody just like, I want really crispy ramen hair, you know, something that shouts perm when I walk in and smells perm. They wanted it as a way to not have to style their hair or for their hair to behave better. And I was leaning into perms for years. Just use every single kind, but never was really like, oh man, this is the best. This is my favorite perm. They were always like, just okay. And with the rise of selfies, it was like, and it'll look good in 2 weeks. That wasn't very good for business because no one ever sends you the after photo like they promise they will, right? So I, being curious as I am, it took me to Italy to meet with a chemist about 7 years ago. And over the course of 5 years, we worked on revolutionizing the perm. I knew for my people, my hairdressers, I'm a salon owner. I've owned a salon for 16 years in Los Angeles. 6 of it, we had one in New York as well. I own heroin salon in LA. And I love perms. I had all this business coming in. Refinery 29 even did a piece on me that like went viral. And no one in my salon wanted to do perms. And I was making more money perming, doing permanent texture than I was doing color. And in less amount of time too. And why would you hesitate to make money with perms? There's like a handful of main reasons. One, what? Why don't you like perms? You guys got to interact. I'm gonna just sit here and get awkward and same with me, but we're weird, right? We're weird. But they smell. They're pretty stinky. The client time consuming. What else? Super messy. Your clients get showers they didn't ask for. Your friends next to you get showers they didn't. It's like, and then you're supposed to charge a premium price. It doesn't feel very premium, right? It hasn't elevated in ever, essentially. And there's been ones that said they were gonna, and I tried those and I'm like, yeah, this is exactly pretty much the same. So that is one thing I will show you. And we're going to focus mainly like on technique, getting questions out of the way from our online people. Welcome. Thank you for joining. But few things about our perm. One, you guys ready for this? We neutralize over top. If anybody knows how to perm. Yeah. Mic drop. That means no rinsing, no blotting. That step is completely eliminated. You neutralize on top. So, right? Thank you. My perm in the back. It makes it way more comfortable for the client. 95% of the service is now done at the chair. I even take my rods out at the chair. The only time I'm rinsing that client is with my client is without rods in their hair. Yeah, and this is more probably more for those like long lengths, especially like for him, we'll maybe apply it at the shampoo bowl. Probably not. I like doing it up here, so we'll do that. But it makes it easier. It makes it an actual different service. Another thing, it smells quite a bit better. It still has a sour kick to it, but I promise you that client's not going to smell like perm for 48 hours when they go home. And that's really, really the most important part. And it's sour. It dissipates the second that you neutralize. So for a week later, people aren't like, oh, who did a perm in here? You know? And with the increase of salon suites and stuff, that's super important. So we're going to go through all of that. So that's me. That's why the perm. We also have PIS and Protex technology in it. So it's a pea protein Plex technology in one. So our perms look and feel way softer in most cases than before they got the perm, which as long as I've been perming, said no one ever. That was probably the biggest, most exciting thing was that clients like the texture of their hair, the shine of their hair more after they get a curl pull perm. So lots of exciting stuff. This is our very first barber certification. We just launched our barber certification online. Really excited about that. And how that came about was that's been the most like kind of underbelly TikTok trend pushing the modern day perm, right? And we have like all these young boys coming in. So I was like, all right, we've got our regular certification. We can show you how to do our mid-length long hair, but let's play with the barbers. Let's put that out there. So you guys get to see this is the first class ever, the first launch of it. And I'm so excited to do that with an actual barber. Mr. Taylor. Tell them about you.
Let's see. My name is Taylor. I'm a Scumbassador with Reuzel. I've been with Reuzel for like 2 years. I'm a barber cosmetologist. I'm a cosmetologist first. What I love about barbering, especially nowadays, is that barbering is like cosmetology and barbering kind of all mixed into one, and I love that. I remember like getting it out of school, I got my cosmetology license, and like barbering wasn't like that cool yet, I guess, back in like 2007. And
Yeah, that's right
like,
before.
yeah, so like I got into the shop, and what I found immediately is I gravitated towards shorter hair. And I think with shorter hair, what I love about shorter hair is you get to cut that shape, and then you get that instant gratification of seeing that shape come to life in like the blow dry and the styling. So I went and got my barber license. I started working in a shop. That's where I was introduced to Reuzel. How many of you guys have heard about Reuzel? You guys? Yeah, you guys have worked with it a little bit. None at all. Well, we're a company from Rotterdam, Netherlands. The first time I was introduced to Reuzel, I got invited to a hair show in Long Beach, and Rob and Lean, which are the founders of Reuzel, they're from Rotterdam. They were doing a hair show at this like venue, and it was like a stage, and I walked in, and like I felt like I grew up playing in bands and going to shows, and I saw like I felt like I was watching a band play at this like bar, and they were doing these amazing shapes. If you guys don't follow Rob on Instagram, he's the Bloody Butcher. Super entertaining guy. He's like this old like punk rock dude, but he does these amazing shapes. He's very talented. And so I immediately dove into the shop and got my hands dirty with Reuzel. And what I found immediately is that it catered to all my clients. So because we have such a wide variety, and it gave my clients an experience right off the bat. One of the first products that I found was the grooming tonic. And that's kind of like a foundational product you can put in the hair before you blow dry. But my clients would get the smell, they'd smell it, they'd instantly like, what is that? And then they'd see the results it gave after I blow dried it in, and it basically sold itself. So it really added value to me. A little bit about Reuzel, like I said, Rob and Lean, they founded this barbershop called Scorum in the Netherlands, and it created this giant buzz. They specialized in classic shit like pompadours, quips, flat tops, punk rock styles, rockabilly styles, and they needed a product to help support the styles. So they actually created the first two pomades in the shop, like mad scientists, the green grease pomade and the red pomade. So the green grease pomade is kind of your like old school traditional pomade, and then the red pomade is kind of like a water soluble pomade. And we've grown into like 7 other pomades and tonics, pastes, shampoos, skincare, and beard care. So we've come a long way in a very short amount of time compared to the grand scheme of things. Like Reuzel really hasn't been around. We've been around for maybe around like 10 years, and we've created such a buzz around the world and created this like culture. And I'm excited to be a part of it, and I'm excited to kind of share it with you guys. So I'm gonna do 3 textured looks today, and produced to you by Curl Cult. I'm excited to be teaming up with Curl Cult, and we're just going to show you, go over some of the techniques that we have. And if you guys have any questions, please feel free to, like, we're all just hanging out, we're geeking out on hair. So yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a looser format because, I mean, I think it's way more fun when you get out of this what you want rather than me. Like, I'm not sad that there's not a PowerPoint because I don't know, it feels very like anti-hairdresser to do a PowerPoint. But yeah, let's like lean into this and ask the questions. I really want you to, well, before I even say what I want, what did you think when we hit you up and we're like, hey, you want to teach a haircut class with my perm class?
Well, the first thing I thought was, I don't do perms. I haven't done a perm since beauty school, right?
Well, and you need to tell them your confession you gave me.
All right, so I confessed to her that in beauty school, you have to do a certain amount of perms, right? So like I kept like a pre-rolled perm underneath my station. So when I needed, and I'd take like 3 out, you know, just to like, and then I'd like be rolling it like I just did a full one, and then I turned it in. So I immediately regret that decision. The perms are definitely back. These textured looks, I think it can offer your clients like a whole new look and an experience with just as easy as a perm, and increase that ticket sale for sure.
Now let's talk about this cut you're about to do. This one threw me for a loop. Okay, because apparently I got to discover just how old I was with this request. What haircut are you doing?
Do you know what haircut we're doing?
He does.
The taper. What do they call it?
Like the line.
What did you call, what'd you tell me?
Oh, Edgar.
Yes, an Edgar. Anybody doing the Edgar cut right now?
Yeah.
This was a first for me. I was like, we had to go into a deep dive. And what do we renamed it though, huh, Kevin? We called it the West Coast Blowout. So we're calling it. Yeah. Yeah. Take pictures, do the thing. And all of our social handles are Curl Cult. So at Curl Cult on all the things. And what is your social handle, friend?
I am Taylor, Taylor Hernandez.
Love a good hair pun, obviously.
In school, we had to like have name tags in cosmetology school
Yeah.
back in 2007, and I was at the mall at this place that made name tag. I was like, Taylor Hernandez. That's me.
That's good. That's a good one. All right. So he's going to be going through the cut. I'm going to roll my friend here. This is his second perm. He was at the ice show with us. Now he's a permer for life. We're going to just roll it back so that it gets this kind of like blowback wave. I'm going to be using these rods that I love. They're called Nano-Ionic. I don't know. It's their fancy name. I got them on Hairbrained. They have, I'm sure you guys have gotten like the ads, right? You're like, what are these? These are them. And if you want to, I'll pass them around so you guys can see. They're really lightweight. And they have external rubber bands. Yeah, you can tell us. Oh, okay. Can you catch up? Yeah. Sorry.
Do rubber bands come with the?
Yeah, they do. There's like a bag of external rubber band. Yeah, they're pretty cool.
All right, so with this haircut, the Edgar,
Yeah, like how would you describe it? What's different? What's
So basically, I would think like this kind of haircut is kind of like a crop, but just like a longer version of a crop. How I'm gonna do this is kind of wearing it forward, kind of outline his like face frame his face. So he's gonna wear it forward, texture, have some like on the sides to play with, but where this haircut kind of like gets its name, I feel like you get those tight aggressive tapers on the sideburn and in the back. So I'm gonna give him a nice shape with shears. And then I'm gonna go in with clippers at the end and give him a nice taper. So what I like to do before I do anything is just I have the grooming tonic or the hair tonic in this my water bottle, and this is just like a cutting lotion for me. So I would put about 2 parts of the hair tonic and 8 parts water. And basically what I'm just doing is just kind of assessing the hair. I've never done it here on a platform like this, so this is exciting. So I'm just gonna like look at growth patterns, density. He's got really thick hair. Obviously he has some texture in it now. And yeah, I'm just gonna kind of just assess the hair, assess the situation. And the first thing I like to do when I start a haircut is basically just separate the top half of the head from the bottom half of the head. And that's just really gonna keep me organized. How I like to do it is like, I'll just set my comb on the side of the head, and right where it starts to rock, that's typically where the round of the head is. And I'll dip that all the way back to center back. And you can notice that it kind of drops a little lower in the back. Not because it's like a curved line or anything, it's a straight line on a curved surface. So dropping it lower in the back also allows you to incorporate that cowlick, especially with like all these classic shapes. When you incorporate the cowlick, I think of a successful haircut because you get that longevity. I know sometimes like with guys, we just kind of chop the cowlick off right in the chair, right? And then a week later, that cowlick's gonna stick straight up. So I'm gonna drop it a little lower in the back. And I'll do the same thing to the other side.
Now he's been pre-permed. I permed him on, when did we perm him? Thursday?
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah,
we permed him on Thursday. And he has thick straight hair, like as straight as it can be. And you would not think that, right? That he's permed, like, you're like, oh, he has wavy hair. On his sides, which I knew they were getting cut off, I still combed the solution through the side to just chill it out a little bit and soften those bonds so that it had the same texture as the top that we were actually like, the goal was to create some wave and some pattern here and help break up that front fringe. Cause the before pictures and stuff, it was really severe and didn't have that like cool effortlessness. It looked very forced and contrived. And he was trying to back comb it up and do all this stuff. We had such heavy hair, it was really challenging. And now it'll style itself, and especially with the right haircut, it's gonna texture style itself.
What size rod would that be, purple? I'm just curious.
Yeah. Sure. I think so. It's probably like the pinky purple color one. With our perm too, it's a softer in nature perm. It's a amino acid perm, cysteine and cysteamine is how we break down the disulfide bonds. So you're going to want to drop 1 to 2 rod sides in. Why is this a really great news? So when you're perming on shorter hair, you're always kind of like, oh my gosh, it's going to be way too curly. Now you can comfortably perm on shorter hair. Like even you'll see, that's why we wanted to do a really tight mullet. You saw what tight rods I used on him. It's not going to be that traditional, really crispy, ramen-y shape. It's going to be very activated curl, but a much softer. But it's nice. I can comfortably get smaller rods in shorter lengths because of that.
Does he usually part his hair down the middle or down the side?
He lets it just kind of kick back.
Okay, can you repeat the question?
Oh, the question was, does he normally part his hair down the middle or down the side? He is a just wash and go. Well, you do use curl cream now. He's a changed man, you guys. His first perm, he's like, Linda talked him into it, and he's like, I don't know, I guess. And I quote, this is the hair that I've always wanted. So there's that. Changing lives here, people. But we showed him, hey, now that you've curly hair, it's a different kind of thing. You put curl cream in it, scrunch it with the t-shirt or an approved curly towel. And yeah, his goal was, because he has stick straight hair, typically this perm's still on the like itty bitty end. Our perm, again, because it's softer in nature, grows out really nice. So it's not just like, okay, in 4 months, you're gonna look crazy. That was a big hurdle to overcome too with new clients that, you know, with perming, I'm not looking to go after like the box perm mature clientele that loves their crispy perms. Leave them there. They love it. That's a different clientele. I'm looking to go after the clientele that's all constantly looking to you as a problem solver. Like, how can we do this? Like, can I do, you know, the ones are like, if I use this mousse, it'll just blow dry my hair, right? You're like, no, that's not how mousse works. But yes, with a perm, technically it's kind of with a little scrunching, they can achieve those really effortless results. Just really looking to perms, especially the curl coat perm, as a, you know, just a liquid tool, is a liquid styling tool. And for him, I'm just taking not perfect sections. If you notice that, sorry for any of those type A hairdressers in the audience. Probably like making your eye twitch right now. But this is on purpose, because if I have curly hair, is it all exactly the same size and shape? No, and I'm trying to create it so that nobody knows you got a perm. I want it to look effortless and like it grew out of his head that way. So taking imperfect sections, utilizing pulling and pushing in larger sections to manipulate how the hair is going to fall, just like you would with a curling iron, right? Like around the face, you're going to take larger, wider sections so that it pulls that root in and gives more of an activated curl. The same applies when you're doing perms.
Okay, so I just separated the top half from the bottom. I set in my primary parting. So the first thing I did, if you've ever taken a class with Reuzel, we'll talk very highly of the baseline and when we do our men's hair cutting. So we started with the baseline. The baseline is going to live right below the primary parting, right? And that's right along there. So I set in that first at the widest point of the head, right behind the ear, at that mastoid bone. And I set in that baseline. And the reason why I started there is because I'm trying to create a square shape from the front. So if I came in from the right here, it's going to come off and kind of collapse that square shape. So I came in here, I'm creating a nice square shape all the way around. I want this baseline to be even around the entire parietal, because this is going to be our transition into the top. So the reason why I start in the interior of the haircut is because it acts as a foundation that will create a safety net for us, as opposed to working from the bottom up. When a lot of times when we work from the bottom up, when we're fading hair, we tend to push that fade higher and higher, and then it just collapses our shape. So starting in that round of the head will act as that safety net. So we could set in that baseline, and then we could determine the length on the bottom. And then that will allow us to transition to the top and determine the length for the top as well. Because this foundation, this baseline is going to be the foundation of the entire haircut. So once I set it in, it's going to be in there. So I set the baseline in. I already pre-cut this side. So now that I've set the baseline in around the parietal, I just took in like 1/2 inch sections and just used my baseline as my guide. So I have my guide here, and I kind of angled my fingers to like a 45 just to kind of hug it a little tighter towards the ear, right? And then I'm just going to be moving to center back. And what I really love about just using shears, because I could easily do this with clippers, but I love using shears because, one, you're getting that custom shape. And I think with clippers, you kind of get those like, it's like a perfect cut, right? With shears, you kind of get those like minor inconsistencies that create texture. So that's what I really enjoy about this. And I'm not too worried about like the hairline right now, because I know I'm going to give him a nice taper. I just really focusing in on setting a nice square masculine shape for him. Okay.
You guys can get up and look too. Anybody, like, please walk around, get the most out of everything.
So I'm just going to do the same thing to this side here.
Taylor, are you noticing people asking for longer lengths now? Like, are we getting away from the Peaky Blinders?
You know what? I think the pandemic really did us a favor because everybody like had the courage to just grow out their hair and we're being more like experimental with our hair and I love
Yeah.
that. And I noticed that like high school kids, especially I don't know about you guys, but for me, a lot of it's like those Zach Morris haircuts,
Oh,
you know, like,
yes.
and I love it, you know, because it kind of breaks it up for me. Like instead of just doing like fades all day, I can like play with shears and create shape with shears. And I love that just as much as, you know, using my clippers. So totally.
Did you get it to work? Look at you. There we are. You guys, we have a PowerPoint. So fish. So here's all the kind of call outs of our brand: vegan, paraben free, sulfate, surfactant free, made in Italy, which is no easy feat. Let me tell you, I do not speak Italian. That was very interesting. I got when I came over there and when I started this project and was so excited to tell this chemist, you know, hey, we're gonna make a perm. It's so cool. The poor interpreter, as he's shouting and waving his hands at me, she's like, I'm like, listen, I understand. I know he is not pleased with my perm idea. Basically, he was like, don't you know it's like the worst selling SKU? Nobody wants a perm. This is, I guess, about 7 years ago when I started that process. And at the time, he was right. Like blow dry bars were all the rage, like everything but super curly hair. But we were getting there. Like natural curly hair was starting to make its way. But I noticed it was leaving behind anybody that had uneven curls, which is majority of people with curly hair, and just anyone that wanted curly hair. So it's like, okay, yeah, you can do curly girl method only if you have perfectly awesome ringlets from root to end. And it's like, well, what about everybody else? Like, we have that underneath. What about on top? Can we do partial perms? Totally. Do we do reformation perms, like stretch out curl that's really tight and compacted? Absolutely. We do cowlick fixes. We do braid perms. We do everything. And it's all on our pro portal.
And we just put him underneath the rollerball processor over there.
Ooh, I know. I'm gonna use everything in here. You know, it's like that, and we're gonna do a lounge chair over there.
So the rollerball will cut the perm, processing time in half. So it's 8-minute preset on our rollerball. So if he's sitting there and uses a far infrared ray that kind of heats up and kind of cuts the color or processing and color time in half. That is on our wall mount over there, rollerball. And then we do have the stand version that rolls around the salon. They're all over here. You can see right back here. Can be adjusted up and down to the styling chair. I like the wall mount myself because you can get it like right in front of your station and swing it between two stations, which is really rad.
I have to tell you too, like even the wheeling one.
Yeah.
You know, I've been lucky enough to work in a ton of different salons, teaching and everything. There is such a significant difference from like the one bought on Amazon or
100%.
wherever else that's like almost crashing on their head the entire time.
Yep.
To your guys's, like it's incomparable, the difference of quality.
Yeah, the Japanese design, this is our 3rd generation of it, and it just uses quicker technology, uses a carbon ray element that keeps up in less than like 15 seconds, and it's really top notch, has its ETL approval, so all your electrical approvals, so nothing won't shock or burn your customer. A lot of the knockoffs out there are not ETL approved, so be very careful because
That's important to know because I don't think it's here, like a lot of, I didn't know that.
yeah, so they can sue you directly versus, we take that pride in having the ETL approval in all of our products. So it's really neat. You definitely see a difference. It gets deeper into the cross section. The Japanese are very meticulous about, really researching every product they launch into the market. So it's really cool.
So Janine, when
Yeah.
did you cap and heat the purse?
Okay, great question, Lauren. We cap and heat it healthy, resistant, coarse. Majority of our perms, we cap and heat right away, especially for barber perms. You know, time is money for us. And unless you like really enjoy watching someone process, cap it and heat it. The only time I don't is if they have fine, sensitive hair that's already where I'm like, you know, they're gonna process really fast. Then you're gonna want to wait to cap and heat that. Check it within 5 minutes. But if it's taking a little bit of time, then go for it. Cap and heat it. We have special caps when you get an intro kit with us. It's our jumbo thermo caps, and these are specially designed for the perms. So they're great for color work too. They have a mylar interior, so they help extra heat up as they're processing. And they're gigantic, so they actually go over an entire set of big rollers.
So I'm transitioning into the top here. I created like a little 5 template sectioning. I parted them right down the middle. I have a little triangle. So I started right at the recession, created this little triangle in the front. I like to call this triangle like the Tinder triangle, or like the Bumble bump, you know, because this is like the money shot. This is what everybody's gonna see. So I kind of sectioned that out. And I have a section here, one section here, one section here, and I split it right at the crown of the head. If you want to tilt your head, I don't know if you guys can visually see that. It's a little dark, but I have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then my Tinder triangle here. And basically now I could start at any section that I want because I created a baseline all the way around, and I'm just bringing everything down to that baseline, and I'm transitioning horizontal. So when you transition to horizontal, like what do you typically get? Okay, create weight, right? So when you go in like vertically, you're kind of reducing weight. So I want to build weight. He wants to maintain most of his hair, play with all this texture here. So I'm going to build weight right at that baseline. And we're going to just bring everything down. So I'm basically, I did this section. I just kind of went in 1/2 inch subsections. I started to run out of hair, and that's okay. I just left it. I'm just going to go until I run out of hair. And when transitioning to the top, you really just want to use loose tension. You don't want to like stretch it to the baseline and because then it will snap back in. And I may be bringing everything down to the baseline, but anytime we're using the baseline as our guide, that baseline is coming off tabletop section, just like how we cut it. So even though I'm over directing this hair down a little bit, that baseline is tabletop sections. Just work your way up to the crown. So I guess this would be a stationary guideline. Just everything to this point, like wet, is just creating the sketch. So I'm gonna dry it after, and then I'm gonna enhance the texture of the curls. We have a few different products that we can go with. We have foundational products, like we have sprays that you can spray in to enhance some curl texture. We have different ones where you can have shine, or you could have no shine. We even have finishes like pastes or pomades with shine or no shine. So it's just whatever. I kind of ask open-ended questions to my clients, and I just kind of get a vibe of what they want to do. And then, so my clients get mad at me because, you know, they'll buy a product from me, and then the next time we'll use a different product, because we have products that are similar but slightly different. So I'm not that barber that just has one pomade in my back pocket and I just bust out on everybody. I get everybody hooked on everything. So they're like, oh crap, well, I need that now. So we have different options, and I'll go over that when I get to the styling part.
Okay, so now I'm gonna apply perm solution to him. You can put the towel up to your head and lean back.
Janine, can you walk us through the application instructions?
Yeah, so to apply, we double drape, so it's a chemical draping. And then we do, once you're rolled, we apply cotton around the hairline. And then now I'm applying the perm solution directly on. It's called Liberate. And we like, for him too, I'm gonna cap him and heat him right away. It's really, like every single model today, I was like, let's really make our jobs hard. Everyone's like corset resistant, if you haven't noticed. But it really helps. It's like, these are the clients that couldn't have had, you know, a wavy mullet before. He couldn't have had that, he was just wearing his hair quite short because it didn't do the thing. And same thing, I'm gonna kind of dribble this around his hairline. So we can soften his hair because he does have such sticky outy hair. What's the technical term?
Sticky out here.
I'm just combing it down. That's the main thing I want you guys to get though, is the perms don't have to be scary. Perms don't have to be boring. They can be fun and creative, and you can really, you know, reimagine how you want somebody's hair to hang out.
How much Liberate are you using?
Oh, let's see, I've filled this up to 4 ounces. And I've used it now almost on him and my other one. So like 2 ounces on each. Yeah. 2 for like a partial head, 2 to 3 ounces for a partial head. You want to make sure that it's really well saturated. I like to cap always just to keep it not even like, you know, it always depends what kind of slaughter you're in. Like, I'm right under the vent here. So if I didn't cap him, it would dry out and take an extraordinary unnecessary amount of time. So yeah, it's really healthy hair. I don't have a mirror, like on his eye. So I'm just gonna cap him and heat him up as well, so that we can just get it going. Well, all right,
We have a question from
Yeah.
the Zoom audience.
yeah.
All right, so what are your views or suggestions on either cutting first, perming first, or doing 2 separate appointments?
Oh, man. Yeah, and now, like, there's no like hard pressed rule. Cutting it first, the only reason we don't, like, especially with some, like, these short ones, is that a crisp line is really hard to roll, you know, because it just like jumps right out of that roller. If I'm taking up significant length, I'll definitely take a majority of it off with like a feather razor, which actually my favorite feather razor is also made by the same companies, and our Fuji papers. Our Barber kit too comes with this dispenser, which you guys are so lucky. I did all the work. I used all the things that didn't work, found the things that did. So this is like, were you noticing how easy I'm using end papers and not fumbling with them? Pre-folded, these are great. And the paper too is really nice. Sorry to be extra about end papers, but I've used every single kind and these are the best. But they also make, it's Jatai, they also make the feather razor, which I love pre-cutting. If I'm going to pre-cut a perm, I will do a soft feather razor cut, all one length around the perimeter to take off the bulk of that. Just because you'll be wasting product anyway, you know, and time and effort if you're rolling and like planning on cutting off 6 inches. Did that answer it? Oh, and then cutting it after. So you want to keep the hair very saturated if you're cutting after the perm, because it almost like suspends the process in midair, you know? So if it's really, really saturated, we use that 48 hours after the perm for air oxidation. Neutralizer, which I'm going to do on him right now, that closes those. So perm solution or Liberate opens those sulfite bonds up. Neutralizer locks, clicks them back together. 48 hours locks them back together. So that's why in the 48 hours, don't shampoo, no excessive sweating, no like big scrunchies, nothing like overly disruptive or reshaping of the hair. But after that, wash away, do your thing. So when it comes to hair cutting, you want to keep it really, really damp as you're cutting to make sure that you're not pulling that curl out as you're going. And oftentimes after if I'm doing a big haircut on somebody after the perm, I will take them back, re-wet them, apply the curly products, and then do the curly styling method after that. Does that make sense? Cool. But in perfect scenario, which I never get this scenario because I'm in LA and parking is expensive. Nobody comes back 2 days later for me to cut it, but I sure do wish they did. That would be the most fun. Like I want to see it. You know, I want to be the first to check it and get to see that. All right, so now we're neutralizing. Here's my magic trick, you guys. So I'm gonna take off this cotton and reapply.
You wanna show us how you know it's ready?
Yes. Lauren's our education director, you guys. If you didn't gather that. By just bossing you around without all the things, important things I'm not saying. But Janine, how does this actually work? Okay. Alright, so I'm gonna show you. So old school perms, you're like wiggle, wiggle, push, and you can already notice it's not as like intense, right? Everyone's scared. This side's wrong. We're looking for elasticity test. So he has really coarse hair. So 2 strands of hair. I'm gonna pull up. And I'm looking for that bounce like a rubber band. You guys see that? Now if I was doing highlights, you're screwed. But we're doing a perm and it's supposed to do that. That means the dual sulfite bonds are broken.
Real quick, for the online people, I'm gonna give you a backdrop.
Oh, God, I was like, what are you doing? That makes sense. Okay.
You can see that part of your account.
Make it bounce. Oh my gosh, my like nubby nails. Mhm. Then you can do it. Can you see that?
Where are you? You don't see it on there.
Oh, and there's, oh, because they're wet.
Yeah.
Here, see? Proof. I tell no lie.
You and paper on everyone that you have.
I don't. I use it only when I need to. I use it when it's like, I need the, like the shorty, sticky outy hair. I need it papers on hard drops, you know? But a lot of our like mid-length, longer haircuts, I use bendy rods for majority of those longer length ones. And I don't use end papers in those cases. So definitely like, I also too, I want to break down all those like thickness of like this. You have to roll it in like exact sections and run a train down the side to be able to do the parting. I don't, none of that, because none of that's fun either. Use what you need to when you need to. So use end papers if you're struggling with it, you know, otherwise get going, just roll that. All right, so neutralizer. Now's my magic trick. You have your towel still? What did you do? I'll put this in there. So hold this up to your face for me. Both hands. Okay, there we go. All right. That's a wonderful one. Magic trick, guys. No rinsing, no blotting. Just going right over top. Like, don't you feel like if you did this in beauty school back in the day, you would have been a lot more inclined to perm?
Yes.
And because there's not scent vision, how's the smell? Like we're perming in a tight, you know, with air conditioning blowing it right in your direction. You're not dying. No one's throwing up in the front. No one's crying and complaining. That's what it is in the salon normally. It was perfect. Like, oh God, I know. So yeah, just for the people that work at my salon alone, I had to change that because they were like, oh yeah, our owner's super into perms. Real cool, Janine. All right, I'm gonna let it dribble on the side a little bit.
That's because those don't have like a smaller one.
I didn't have enough of the smaller ones.
Okay.
Like they came as like a assorted set. And I only, so far I only have one set. I need to get another one. Yeah, I just didn't have enough of the tiny one. And I wanted like a, you know, this is a more funky, like he's young, baseball player. I want to give him that like kind of more consistent, like edgy perm. Right. Yeah, there you go. Right. Oh, hang on. How's it going over there?
So I created like my entire foundation with my shears. I went ahead and tapered the sideburns. So when tapering the sides, especially like a sideburn, I'm not gonna come in straight, right? I wanna come in at more of an angle and kind of work my way up. And I wanna keep in mind that I don't wanna destroy the baseline that I already set in. So I'm kind of fading up to that baseline. It is a little heavier right there, and that's completely fine. If I need to at the end, I could kind of adjust it when I go to detail the haircut. But now you could visually see like I have this like nice shape set in, and now I have like all this weight like blasted back here. And I'm gonna make that look real like tight and clean. He's kind of got a mullet going on right now, so I'm gonna kind of tighten that up for him. And when I get rid of this bulk, I like to go in with, is anybody a barber in here? Just hairstylist, just John the Barber. So I'm gonna go in with my 2 guard, right? And this is a wall guard. I know they're slightly different, but this is a 2. And I like to, when I'm fading, I like to fade mostly with my lever open. And when my lever is open, it means I'm like leaving on more hair. I like to have it open because like when it's shut, it's just so perfect. As opposed to when it's open, I kind of get more of like a sheer kind of look, kind of gives it a little bit more texture. So especially with this weight right here, I wanted his what's his bone again? Occipital, right? Science, whatever. So I want to take this below the occipital, right? And I want to come in with my 2, which is going to be my deep bulker, if you will. So I'm going to have it open, and then I'm going to have him tilt his head down. And then I'm gonna do a nice C-scoop motion. It's just kind of like a freehand kind of deal. And I'm gonna make sure I'm like stopping at this point. So I'm gonna get rid of that bulk in there. And then I'm gonna get into the fading part. Try and stand off to the side for you guys so you can see. But when it comes to fading, it's all about just C-scoop motion, right? Because if I just come in like this, you don't want to, you just set in like a harsh line. When you do that C-scoop motion, it kind of like fades out and you don't set any hard lines. The more lines you set in, the more problems you're gonna like set for yourself, and the more time, and time is money, right? So I'm gonna come in, just debulk this. As far as like the outline of the haircut goes, I'm gonna kind of detail that as I go. I'm gonna take this nice, blow out this back tape right here, just to kind of make this spot. Has anybody heard of the Edgar haircut before? So it's like super popular, especially like online. I think Who's Gone Wild like freaking like made it like a staple. Shout out Who's Gone Wild. So I came in with my 2, I debulked all this weight right here. I can come in with some clipper over comb and just kind of clean that up a little bit. Just working up to that baseline. I'm not disrupting that baseline at all. I'm going to get rid of some of that bulk here. And please feel free to come up and hang out with me, because I know I'm trying to like get in a position where everybody can see. So feel free to come up. So I have that 2, right? So I have a 2 now. So I want to take this nice and tight down to skin. And that sounds scary, but I'm going to make it less scary for you guys. Okay, so
I have a question for you.
What's up?
Yeah, there's a question. Do you use both magnetic and pivot clippers?
So these are magnetic clippers, right? So magnetic clippers typically have the lever on them, right? And they don't really cut through wet hair, right? So that's more for like a rotary motor clipper. I could totally go in with my rotary motor clipper, and I use my rotary. That's like what people use for dog grooming. And it just like can take down anything, wet hair, dry hair. It can go through anything. This is a magnetic clipper. I want to finesse this taper. And so I'm going to be playing with the magnetic clipper. So for this part, I will be using a magnetic clipper, yeah. So I set in my 2, right? So now I want to make sure I have like maybe like 3 fingers before like where I set in my first line. So my first line will lie right in there. Okay, so I'm gonna open it up to it. So when this is open with no guard, it's considered a half, right? So I'm gonna take that half all the way to right there. And now that just looks like extremely scary. And this is where everybody starts to get the pit sweats and everybody's like, oh my God, how am I gonna blend out this line?
Yeah,
But it's fine.
that's what we're trying to get.
We're gonna do it together, right? So. This is gonna look really nice on him. Especially because like he's got that coarse, straight Hispanic hair that really makes the fade pop. Okay, so I got my half. So I got my half in there and then my 2, okay? So I'm gonna take it one step further and close it all the way down to 0. And I'm gonna take it like maybe a finger underneath that half. So I'll go right here. And just clean up all that hair underneath. I have my half right in here and now I'm taking it to 0. So just setting in my lines, getting myself organized, getting ready to get rid of this this line here. So I have my 0 line, I have my half line, and then I have my 2. So I'm gonna come in underneath all that with my trimmer and just clean up any excess hair underneath that and just take that all the way down. Now, since we're all cosmetologists in here, has everybody heard of a foil shaver?
Yeah.
Foil shaver. So especially since that's like the only thing that like separates us is like a straight razor, right? So the foil shaver is gonna really make your tapers and make like your outline just pop. So it's just gonna take it down to skin. So I'm gonna clean up all this. So I have levels here, right? So I have 0, I have my half, I have my 2, I have, so 0 is still slightly a little bit of stubble, right? So I'm gonna clean that up. Make sure I'm working in a nice work environment here. And I'll come in with my foil shaver and the same thing. I'm just gonna clean up and I'm gonna use this as like a C-scoop motion. And I'm only gonna be using this little blade right here. I'm not gonna come in both. I'm gonna use just the end of it. I'm gonna do like a C-scoop motion, take that down the bald and just fade that into my 0. And you'd be surprised that using one of these is just really gonna make your work just look so clean. I really love it. So I'm gonna wait to blend in that 0 into that half. I'm gonna blend out that 2 line. So I'll come in, since I went in with a 2 guard, I'm gonna go in with a 1.5. So when you buy a set of guards, it's just 1 through 8. You have to buy the half guard and the 1.5 guards separately. So this is a 1.5 guard, right? I'm gonna put that on there. I'm gonna work with my clipper open, right? And I'm just gonna do a nice C-scoop motion into that 2. And you'll start to see a little more scalp exposure. And I'm just gonna work down now. So I'm gonna be working, the only time I'll be working up is when I'm trying to finesse out this 0 to that half guard. So I'm just gonna be working with my clipper open and just work down. So I had my 2, I worked down to my 1.5, and now I'm gonna slap my 1.5 guard on. Okay, so on my 1.5, I'll put on my 1 guard and just work my way down. Also too, when fading, it's really nice to have good lighting, right? Like I work with a ring light on there because it's like those little details. So good lighting is always a plus. So just working that 1 into that 1.5, just C-scooping off of it. So you can start to see that line just lightened up a little bit. And I'll go in with a half guard, make that a little tighter. And this half guard should start to make that line start to disappear. So I'm open right now still, but I'm gonna need to close it just to get that little line out, right? And you could follow like your steps perfectly when you're trying to blend out a line, but it's really all about like using your lever. And like, if you're unsure on where to start longer and keep it open and gradually shut it to make that line disappear. But it's really about just kind of finessing it shut or finessing that line away.
I have a question.
All right,
In between the lines, are you doing like a little, just a really small seam shape
So-
motion?
So the longer I'm cutting, so that first initial two, it was kind of a bigger C scoop. And as I get tighter, those C scoop motions get a little shorter and shorter and shorter. Okay,
we have a question online too.
what's up?
Is it different to use a 1-inch guard than a 1.5 inch and closing down the lever? I guess just a 1 guard and a 1 inch.
A 1 and a 1.5.
Yeah.
Okay, so a 1 guard, if I had a 1 guard on here, if I had it closed, that's a true 1. So if I had my 1 guard and opened it, that's a 1.5. So I could put a 1.5 guard on. That would be the same as having a 1 blade on and have it open. But you know, you can like mess with the guards as you play with like fades, but that's essentially the same thing. So if I had a 1 guard on and had it open, a 1.5, but we also have a 1.5 blade.
But your lever like helps you dance between an entire half the side.
Of course,
Yeah.
yes.
Got it. All right, so heat's fully neutralized. We neutralize for 10 minutes. I'm gonna use my perm strainer basket. Or constant strainer. It's a really easy way. I'm gonna drop all these rods out the chair so we can get comfortably rinsed out. And then we're gonna take him back, rinse him. Do we shampoo? We don't, because we watch Legally Blonde and we know better than that, right? No, we condition, and then we'll show how to curly style, because it is different.
Did you already have a haircut?
Yes, he has it in there. We're gonna, I think, time permitting, clean it up.
Yeah, but to clean up this, like,
Yeah.
for at least the sides.
Taylor, you regularly cut him, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And we got on our call, like, hi, you got stuck with me during the perm class. I was like, do you have a mullet model? Like, I do. And he's down to get a perm.
They call me the mullet doctor.
Oh, really?
No, I wish.
Oh, I was like, whoa, that's
That'd be
oddly
scary.
specific.
Couple questions. 48 or 72 hours no wash.
48 hours, no wash.
And then also, what is the average time that you should be able to roll a perm on short hair?
I think 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes. So these are good questions. Depends though, if it's a smaller rod, it's a lot more rods going in there. We saw like the other model, I rolled in probably like 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes. While talking too, you know.
One thing that's really helpful too, if you have that really thick straight hair and you're having a hard
Yep.
time getting it on the roller, do your best, and then about halfway through, you can rewrap any that have some stick out pieces because it will soften the hair.
Once
as
you
you
get
process.
solution on it, yeah. And even too, like if I know I'm just throwing like a bunch of big ones in there, somebody's resistant, I'll pre-apply the solution. If I know I can get those rods in like 20, 30 minutes. And that they're gonna take longer to process anyways, that helps. Can you already see it's way less like this old perm, you're like, and that's exactly where the rods were. Nobody wants that.
No, it looks cool underneath.
Yeah, that's and it is hard. If you guys, this is a professional service, so it's gonna take you guys to explain to them the nuances to this perm, why you're now using a different perm, why you're now perming more. That they don't have to be afraid, because there is a lot of fear around perms, and that they always are damaging and ugly and crispy and crunchy and not a lot of positive words, but now with newer technology and a fresher approach, we can make them something that people really look forward to, and that really enhances their look without a lot of effort. All right,
Janine,
Janine, your rinse.
real quick,
Yeah.
can you go over what the actual set was?
Oh, yeah. Oh, did you already pull it up for me? Okay. Yeah. Okay, so I took it at a diagonal and rolled the whole front in like kind of in a round sweeping motion so that it goes with his natural calc. So we're not like, this is all forward and then there's a hard line going back. And on a diagonal, rolled him all forward. It also helps like make it fall nicer because you can even see in that model picture how it like kicks to one side. That's gonna look a lot better than it just dumping completely on their forehead. And then back here, same thing. I worked it all the one direction and then the other direction and then the other. So almost like, you guys remember doing finger waves? How you would do that, utilizing how we push and pull hair at the root when we're perming. So that it does just gently push and pull that root back and forth to make it a little more disrupted. And again, not just a curl that's dropping out the back of his head. Cool? All right, get you washed, go to your fancy spa chair.
And then we have a
This is our Yume shampoo unit. Yume means green in Japanese. So this is our fully electronic. Down with my stepper. So
I know, our four models, like this is as best as it's ever gonna get, you know, in the salon. It's as nice as it comes around. No, you don't have to see one yet. I do it till we're done.
yeah.
How much you paying for the haircut?
Huh?
How much you paying for the haircut?
0.
Okay, we gotta wait to see it.
Thank you.
Taylor, we have a question for you online. Sheer over comb or clipper guards? Question for the barber.
Excuse me?
Sheer over comb or clipper guards? What do you prefer?
Shear over comb or clipper guards, like using between the difference between using shears and clippers.
Yeah, let's go with that. I do believe we've got a barber school on here. So.
Okay. Well, like I was saying earlier, like shears and clippers, you know, I like shears because they kind of give those little inconsistencies. You can be really efficient and fast with clippers, but taking that time to create a custom shape with shears, you really get those like a nice textured look that you wouldn't get with like a clip with clippers. You could totally do a clipper cut and then go in with like texturizing shears and kind of break it up a little bit. But I definitely like to create a custom shape with shears, especially because those longer hairstyles are coming back with like the Saved by the Bell looks. And I think that's just, if you're just a barber and you just know how to use clippers, you're doing yourself a disservice if you're not like focusing on shears as well, because shears and is just as important as being a barber as using clippers.
Great. And then Janine, how much can you charge for perms in the men's game?
Yeah, so right now, on average, I'm charging anywhere from 75 to 150, depending on how much time is involved. You really want to be charging for your time when it comes to perms, because it's not the client's job to be like, oh, but I booked for mid-length. If they have a ton of hair and it's coarse and it's gonna just take more time to process, that's where that consultation comes into play. I've been doing a lot of consultations online too. Such a nice, easy way to consult for a perm online, doing a video chat. I'll book like normally on Mondays or Tuesdays. I'll do just a couple hours and I'll get through, 10 consultations in 2 hours and get a whole like month of business on the book it right there. And that they're fully prepared of like, hey, here's how long it's gonna take. This is why my price starts at this, and it's a much more comfortable interaction to talk about and get them ready of what to expect. The other part too, I let them know like, hey, you're gonna leave here with curly hair. You're gonna need to use products that support this curly hair. So big part for me, if they're not willing to buy the right products that support their look, I'm not willing to do a perm on them because they're looking for a miracle, not an actual texture solution. So that's a big part of it is our perm, any kind of permanent texture service is only as good as the haircut and product that supports it. That's really the other side of the entire picture when it comes to doing textured hair, be it natural textured hair or perm textured hair. All right, so he is now processed. Do you want me to show the stretch? You guys want to see the bounce again?
You guys want to come up to get close to see?
How we know. So again, I'm not really looking for, even though I see like, we've got volume building in there. It's a bigger rod though, so I'm not gonna get this like tight S. That's not what I want anyways. So what we lean on is the actual scientific chemical thing that happens, which it turns stretchy once the those sulfite bonds are broken. That's what I'm looking for.
How do we capitalize on retail from perms?
We show them how to use it and how different it looks. Can you guys see the stretch? Okay, we know he is ready.
Well, and more than anything, too, anyone who is changing the texture of their hair is going to need a whole new support line for it. So retail is super important.
And that's the thing, I'm not saying like, sell people, people stuff just to sell it to them. That's not it at all. I have curly hair, like, my hair did not look like this morning, I promise you. It was afraid. I have to have curly supportive products. By using, just a straightening spray or like whatever I had underneath my sink, like, it's not gonna get this look. I need something weightless with memory that actually supports curls and gets them to live their best life. So now we're neutralizing right over top. You got your towel still? Oh, what you do? Oh, no. Here, I'll give you this, okay? Can you hit that for me? And on average, we use 1.5 to 2 times the amount of neutralizer that we do to perm solution because we're not rinsing it out. The perm solution out, we're wanting to really shut it down using the neutralizer. I also put fresh cotton around his hairline. And then now remember, I combed it through his hair as well. So I'm going to do that with the neutralizer as well.
Were these the slides that you were gonna email to
Yep.
us?
Yeah.
Yes, everyone here who's live and everyone on Zoom will get the whole presentation so you can review. And then Janine, do you want to walk over his set while he's got rollers in?
Yeah, so this is what we call the debonair set. There's 2 ways to do this one too. You can do it with the rollers going towards the face and a smaller roller as well. It'll give a totally different look. And the one that we're doing here, that's also pictured, we're rolling it away from the face. And what this is gonna do, again, just to recap, he has stick straight hair. So the style he wanted would never happen without a texture service. It would just keep going stick straight and kind of just flop down the middle. So this helped. I broke that where it would, the weight of it would normally just like part it, kind of, flat McDonald's arches. I broke that to help give that more broken up, wavy back texture. And then worked it in Berkeley section, working back. And then you see my gorgeous drawing of a comb. You comb the solution down the sides just to lay it down and retexturize it. And then we'll let it process for like 15 minutes. I'm gonna kick it in there a little bit more. All right. So you can grab a seat wherever. And go
Real
back to
quick,
your feet area.
how I enhance this texture, for me, curly hair was like, I hated my curly hair growing up. I have natural curly hair. And it's because I feel like I didn't really know how to like do it. It's not what everybody else looked like all the haircuts I wanted to have. But now that it's coming back, I love that like these textured looks are good. So when I went to texturize this, I used our Surf tonic spray. So this is just a light whole matte finish product. It's really just gonna enhance that texture. And I kind of cocktailed it with, and that's what I love about these products, is you're able to create a cocktail, whatever you want. So since we were going with the matte look with the Surf Tonic and just enhance that texture, I also threw in a little bit of the matte styling paste in like a dime size with it while it was towel dried. And then I just kind of scrunched that in, and then I finished over it with the matte styling paste, and it kind of gave this cool little texture to it. And this is kind of the finished look, that kind of croppy look to it. And I think what separates this from just like a bowl cut, right, is those nice tapers, and it really makes the haircut pop. So cool.
It looks so good. Now you guys can start giving them the after. Or the West Coast blow. Yeah, you did that justice. That looks so bad. All right, you ready for your next one?
Yes, please.
So he's permed, you guys. How was that?
It looks awesome. So happy with this.
None of them have seen it, by the way.
This
See?
smells amazing.
Thank you. Said no one ever about a perm until mine. That was the goal, because it was mortifying to send these clients home, and then we'd be like, okay, make sure you're not like getting married in the near future or doing anything worth anything. They can go home looking exactly how they actually want it, smelling great, and not having to worry about it.
Now with the mullets, right? Have you guys noticed like mullets are kind of trending back? Like in the shop a little bit?
Yes,
Yeah.
100%.
So like, I think that there's a difference between like a guy coming in wanting a mullet. Like usually they don't mean Joe Dirt mullet, you know? They mean like more like, I don't know, modern mullet. And when I think of a modern mullet, I definitely think of like a nice taper on the sides, definitely that length in the back. But I think where the modern comes in, we kind of reduce weight in through here, right? So I'm gonna bring all that hair kind of square. So I'm gonna cut it all nice and square. So when it falls, he's gonna have this hair up here, but have this like, I call it lettuce. You know, he's gonna have that extra lettuce on the bottom, which is gonna be sick, you know?
And I did notice that like going to perm, it was really nice that there was actual
Some like
length
layering
left in there, yeah.
For sure. Okay. Let's see.
You're gonna be so happy. I apologize, though, you're gonna want perms now.
Oh, I got you.
So you know, you all leave certified after this too, so make sure you sign up on our pro portal so that we can get you on our salon map. That's how a lot of clients find stylists in their area that are now offering these services.
What are your 3 top things to remember when you're learning how to do a curl perm?
So the top 3 things to remember when you're learning to do a curl cult perm. 1, do not be scared of small roller sizes and small sections. This perm is your friend. It's not going to accidentally out of nowhere just give you ramen, I promise. In most cases, people wish it was tighter. Like I've yet to have a client return and be like, oh my gosh, that was way too tight. They're like, bigger, more, bigger. So go for it. Don't be scared. You know, practice on a mannequin head, practice on a family member till you get cozy with it, but don't be scared. Second thing, let it sit. Don't worry. It's not going to go from 0 to fried in a couple minutes. This is not your mama's perm. This is designed to be softer, gentler, to perm on things you maybe wouldn't have felt comfortable perming on before. So lean into it. Third, be creative. Have fun with it. Try different sections. Use different tools. Like play with this. This is your liquid tool. Do not think of it. I want you to color outside the lines with this permanent texture surface. So those are probably my 3 like go out and get it type suggestion. Did you want more literal suggestions?
No.
Like rules? Okay, all right, cool. I was kind of heavy with that.
So is there a minimum time that you leave it on for and you kind of have to judge it?
Yeah.
Obviously, the more course the hair, you're gonna.
Leave it on longer.
You get familiar with the product and you're gonna know your timing a little more, but is there like a minimum, maybe 10-15 minutes usually? Do you find?
Great question. Is there a minimum time to process the perm? The least amount you can do the Liberate Perm solution is 10 minutes. So that's gonna be for your like, probably wouldn't use a regular perm on this client, type of client, but, and that too, for when you're doing a test strand, when I'm on the fence and do a test strand, it can go 10 minutes before getting really stretchy. I feel comfortable perming them.
And then did I see on there that said that you don't really use it on, let's say somebody bleached hair, correct?
So yeah, let's talk about that. Who don't we use this on? Anybody with a relaxer. You know that those two things, they don't get along. They've already,
You're not talking about the Brazilian blowout, you're talking about like relax.
a traditional relaxer, Brazilian blowout goes on the outer
Right.
cortex layer.
Mhm.
So anything that's gone in there and like really broken and restructured, it's already been done. We can't give it new disulfide bonds to break. Same with all over bleach and tone. Now, is it gonna melt the hair off? Maybe not. That's not why we're saying don't perm on it. It's more that those bonds have already been broken. We've already gone all the way in there to decolorize it. There's not a lot for me to re-break and reshape into a curl. So you'll just, the more bleach, the more damage, the weaker the curl pattern. And then in some cases, of course, if their hairs are, this isn't going to reverse damage. This is a perm, although softer in nature, has pea protein, flex technology in it. We're not going to reverse damage. So just being sensible. The best perms are on healthy hair, of course, you know, and that's a huge range. There's a lot of full highlight clients whose hair is super healthy, and I have clients that just do a base color and their hair is much more fragile, you know, so just really taking in the density, the texture of their hair. Heat styling can oftentimes be more damaging if done frequently than even color can be. So all those kind of things, like what's the fabric that I'm working with and what's the goal that we want to end up on?
It's always with you, correct, no matter if somebody.
Not always, on more fragile like hair, one that I know that like processes in 10 minutes, I won't cap it and I won't heat it.
Okay.
I'm only heating something that I know I'm gonna sit here and have to watch it process for a while. I'm only using the heat to not sit here and watch it process, because otherwise, had we just kept him under this vent,
Right.
that my last two perms would be here probably an hour.
Yeah.
And it'd still be like, we'd probably still be waiting. Where, get it on there, heat it up, drive that solution into the inner cortex layer.
Okay, I'm trying to remember all my words, it's always be random, but. And then
Keep it
also,
coming.
it's like 48 hours before you kind of do anything, right? And would that also be, if we're gonna color their hair, would you recommend them?
I would recommend, if you're gonna do a color service, 48, at least 48 hours, maybe even a week after the perm, my colors and highlight. I like to just kind of scatter them,
Right,
you know, apart anyway.
right.
Uh,
And it does remove the color, like, when you,
it,
some hair traditionally, you know, the color comes out, right?
do you do perms or something?
Yeah.
You know, all the good questions. So the question was, does it decolorize the hair when you do a perm? It can shift the level 1 to 2 levels.
Mm.
Also, it all depends, like if somebody's colored red, you're gonna see a lot more shift, that's a bigger, you know, a larger dye load. So you'll see that kind of loosen up and come out.
So probably not as much as like the old school perms, maybe a little bit
Def-
less, but.
It's definitely gonna shift it less than a traditional perm because it's not as harsh in nature.
Right.
But you will see some shifting going on. On blondes, the blondes will appear brighter. So when they come in to get their color done, you probably they'll be in a sense like almost pre-lightened a bit.
Right, because I would want them to come in, I mean, if you look at ultimate, if it needs color, you know, for that 2-3 days later, within that week.
Yeah.
Otherwise. you know.
Yeah, no, a lot of cases of my perm clients, a lot of them, it ends up softening up their mid shaft and ends and getting almost like a natural balayage kind of sun-kissed look to it. Yeah, it is nice. And really, like, who's this? What client is this for? Beyond, you know, beyond barber perms, I will say, probably 40% of my perm business is on my male clientele. They love it. This is an easy way. Every 3 haircuts, we just add a perm on there. It's an extra hour, maybe an hour and a half, depending on how long their hair is. a couple $100 and their hair is now, especially during the summer when they're getting out of the pool, going to the gym, doing all that stuff, they now know their hair will just style, it'll look fuller, it'll look more done. It helps them in the long run. And it has really appealed to my male clientele. For longer lengths, you know, for them, I suggest this to clients. I wait to be prompted. Most clients aren't gonna ask me for a perm. They don't know that there's this product out there that can solve for this. What I'm looking for from both my male, female clients alike is I want something that's easier. I am struggling with volume. Ugh, I would love to wear my hair in this style, but my hair just won't do that. So I lean into asking them, what are their goals? What are like dream scenario hairdos they would like? And in most cases, I can do a perm that's gonna help them get there a lot easier than if we didn't.
I find it too, like, some of my clients that have fine hair, they're a little bit older now, that their hair isn't maintaining their curl, so I mean, that's a good suggestion for them as well, even.
For our viewers online, a great suggestion was, you know, uneven curl patterns. Curl patterns as you mature tend to fall out and be more inconsistent after surgeries, after babies, after all sorts of stuff. This is, I do a ton of partial perms or just like to even out their curl texture and make it more cohesive and easier in the long run. Let's piggyback to you. What do you got going over here?
So the first thing I did, same thing as like the last haircut, I sectioned it off at the around of the head, right? I set in my baseline with clipper over comb. I really just focusing in right in front of that ear. So I tapered it. I set in that baseline. I gave him a nice little taper, like a very low taper. So now what I'm doing to create that kind of mullet effect is now I have this guideline right here. And I'm bringing everything over to this line right here. So I'm just, everything in the middle, I'm just pushing, over directing. And when we over direct hair, we create length, right? So I bring everything from the center and I'm kind of pushing it to that guide. And I'm just kind of following that line all the way down just to create that nice mullet. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. And I'm going to bring everything to the other side as well. And then I'll kind of have like this little like weird length in the middle and I'll adjust that at the end. So I'm just going to focus in on kind of setting this in. He doesn't want to take too much length off, just kind of cleaning it up. But you can see already that looks like super rad. I'm jealous.
So he's neutralized for 15 minutes. I neutralized him longer. He has softer, larger rods on, and he has even more resistant hair. So you can neutralize anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes. My typical neutralizing time is 15 minutes though.
All right, so I'm on my left-hand side, right? So I'm gonna do the same thing as I did on the other side. I have it sectioned off at that primary part. I'm gonna set in my baseline. My baseline is gonna be more like this, as opposed to like this. It's gonna be more set in like that. So I'm gonna come in with first you gotta grab the cutest comb you have. And then you come in, I'm at an angle right here. I'm not like this, I'm at an angle. I'm coming in. And setting in that baseline. And I really like these combs. This is a wall comb. And I used to buy like wall clippers and like throw this comb away immediately, but I love this comb. So like I know visually that this comb like on the scalp is gonna give me a 1.5. Like this is a 1.5 guard. So visually I know I'm setting this into a 1.5. So I'm just kind of setting this in. I'm gonna get some nice scalp exposure at those temples just to make that mullet pop. Okay, so I got my 1.5 here. I have my baseline. I'm gonna work everything up to this baseline. I'm gonna set in my bald line. Notice it's at an angle. I'm not like coming in straight. I'm gonna clean that up. Dust that off.
His hair so damp.
It's a little damp, yeah. I probably would work in a little dryer.
Yeah.
Just, I didn't want it to be courteous, so I didn't want to like. Watch
Thank
you put your
you.
voice out. But it is still a little damp. Now, if it was soaked thin, that would be a problem. But the other side, if you notice, I did dry it off down a little bit. So I set in my 0, now I'm going with my half. And I'm wiping off those little hairs just so I can see what's really going on, because it could look a lot worse than it is. After you wipe that hair away, you kind of can see what's going on. I see a little darker area right there that I'm just gonna close my blade and then just open it up ever so slightly just to kind of work those lines out. And just working with the teeth of my, like the corners of my blade. I'm not have my full blade on there. I'm just working with those corners. And then I'll come in with my 1 guard and open it up all the way, which is a 1.5, which is what I set it into. And I'm just gonna scoop that out into my baseline there. You can see that blends in nice and easy with that clipper over comb. And then I'll just erase this line with my half guard. So I'll come in, open, erase this line, just kind of C-scoop. And just like I said before, that question, you know, as I get lower and tighter with the hair, those C-scoop motions become tighter and tighter. And I just gonna start to close my blade until that line just starts to disappear. I'm kind of going with the corners. When you go in with the corners, you're not like, you're working with a more controlled area as opposed to coming in with the entire blade. Like I just kind of want to work some of these lines out here.
Man, I've learned today the most that there's no one tool. Like you use every single
There's a lot of tools.
thing in the toolbox.
Yes, you have a lot of tools in the toolbox. And I think it makes barbering fun, you know, because if we just use the same tool, just like products, you know, like if we use the same product every day, it just, it gets boring, you know, we're behind the chair, we work long hours. We're working with tons of people. The more like we get to like have like a different brush in our belt, if you will, it makes things fun. So I'm just gonna work this out a little bit right in here, clipper over comb, just get me unwanted weights. And so now this will be my guide, and I'll bring everything to this line right here. So with my cutting comb. And I'll be taking diagonal back sections. So come in this, I'll bring all this way. I'll bring everything. So my guide's up here. And then I'll just work down. And if you want to maintain more length, you know, you can kind of just kind of feather this out a little bit. It doesn't have to be so straight. You know, you can play with all this length at the bottom here. Okay, so I'll bring everything this way. Diagonal back, bring everything over directed to my baseline so I can create that length. See how that just falls. And then I could like detail anything I see at the end, just setting in that sketch. But I'll make sure I got everything over here. I'll bring everything over. I like to do palm to palm cutting. If you're unfamiliar with palm to palm cutting, I suggest like practice on a doll head because you know, it's gonna really be beneficial to you in a long run because I used to like go through haircuts, like you find yourself in those like awkward positions. You're like in the middle of a haircut and you're like, what am I doing? You just like gotta like kind of like stand up straight and be able to, you know, take that hair and control it like that, as opposed to like breaking my elbow and having it straight up here. Okay, so now I should have like this like longer length in through here, which I want to lighten up. And I will do that. I like to like get that bottom length So this is like that longest point of the hair, and then I'll just go straight up with it and just kind of take out some of that weight. So this is a vertical section. So vertical sections, I'm reducing weight and just, but I'm maintaining a nice square shape for Alex here. So I have that little guide in the middle, and then I'll just kind of work around it and just kind of work back to my guide that I set in on like that taper side.
I mean, what are best practices for cutting close perm?
Best practices is to keep the hair nice and damp. Like he's even cutting the hair probably a little more wet than he traditionally would. This is gonna help, you know, suspend that process. And I would say too, because we knew he was getting his hair cut, I went even tighter on the rods, knowing that we were gonna pull it out a little bit too. So that's where the fun comes in, where you can really like dial it up and dial it back based on what you're gonna be doing in the long run. Right, and this one, he's all done his debonair. You can see that not like a real distinct curl pattern, but we're able to really push that hair back like he never has been able to, or he wouldn't be able to without an actual texture service. But his hair doesn't look fried, right? You guys, we just did 2 perms in a row in what, an hour and a half? So yeah, when I'm charging, I'm adding an extra $150 to my men's haircut. Do you think I can make some good money doing perm? Yeah. You can. And here's my favorite part. If somebody is a colorist for a majority of my career, they are much more, once you get the hang of it, they're so much more predictable. I am now on time to pick my kids up from daycare. Where before with color corrections, I'm like, well, let me see if someone, it turns out she was a liar and has the fox die. So that too, like it really gave me some control, you know, 20 years into my career, that I can add an additional piece of revenue to my pie. So this doesn't borrow, steal from anything else I'm doing. A lot of like people that come to me for perms, I end up getting them to also do color as well. You know, not on purpose, but they're like, well, I'm already coming to you for perms. I'll just have you do my color as well. And then a lot of my color clients, we end up doing a perm on them as a way for them to just wash and go, to truly have wash and go hair. And this has added for our salon overall 20% more revenue just in offering perms at our salon, modern perming. Yeah. You know, and there's not a lot of stuff out there that's so customizable. That's the other part too, that it doesn't have to be like, okay, we only do one beachy wig. Yeah, of course we do beachy wigs, but we can also do, you know, this debonair, a mullet, that like it's all different stuff without it being like, you know, some crazy, you know, contraction. They're like, it is all learnable stuff. Get a couple of these under your belt and you're gonna be good to go. This is not a huge like level of expertise to feel comfortable for me. You guys can start after today, start doing these perms successfully at the salon. Yeah, and I mean, oh, the best is just posting when stylists start posting like before and afters, and it's, you know, this is a perm. It's like, wait, what? That's a perm like that, and that's the great reaction. A lot of clients are nervous to even ask you because of, you know, the ill responses hairdressers have had for years, like, gross, wow, perms, I don't know. So now we can start having those conversations about creating permanent texture and customizing it to them.
Okay, so the last client I used the Surf Tonic, which is more of a matte look. This time I used the spray grooming tonic, and we have 2 grooming tonics, one in a bottle and one in a spray. The spray one is a little lighter. This one has argan oil in it, and this one does not have argan oil in it. So I went with the lighter one, only because I'm gonna put a little bit of a heavier something in there with it. The fiber cream, and this has a low shine to it. It's a medium hold, but something to kind of enhance those curls as it dries. With curls, I don't know if you can relate to this. I explain it like like enhancing curls is like cooking eggs. Like the slower you cook them, like the better.
Yeah.
You know, like it just really enhances that texture.
When it's tricky, because curls, you know, you have to have product, but the right product. So it has to be a weightless, moisturizing product. Our curl cream's amazing for that as well. But it's good to know to have a whole different arsenal of products and teach your client how to best support curls, because it's a game changer. And once, I don't know, does anybody do curly hair right now? Right? Like once your client has like the product that works for them, they are product junkies. They're like, yes, I'm gonna take 3 of these in case you sold out next time. Like that's how it goes, because it really is, it's life changing to have the right product to support the curl. And there's such a vast arena of curls, kinds of curls, and different kinds of applications and different products that they need.
Check out this side profile and just
I
how
mean-
how that perm turned out. Like that really
Are you happy?
it pops
Are
up
you happy you got talked into doing a perm class with me?
100%. Yeah, like this is so rad.
So you're gonna start perming?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna start perming.
Yes, you guys, you did it.
But when I do enhance curls in my shop, it could be different for you guys, but I definitely keep that setting on low.
Yeah.
Like I don't like go full blown like, because like when you put that much heat on or that much like strength on curls, it just kind of expands, gets frizzy. I just want to like slowly cook it, really scrunch that product in there, get it in there, and you could already see like it's popping off already. So I put the spray grooming spray in, I put with the low shine to it, light hold, and then I put the fiber cream in it, which is a little medium hold, but it has a little stronger of a hold to it. I'm just gonna really scrunch that in, and then I'm gonna top it off with the fiber cream again. Just throw that in there. Now, Alex, he's a high school kid, he plays baseball. He doesn't spend a lot of time on his hair like most high school kids. So that was pretty easy, right? I just sprayed it in there, toss them in there, kind of scrunch some product in there. This is gonna dry really nice. So I'll just kind of add a little more. The fiber cream kind of has that like tackiness to it, which I like. But it's gonna give it a nice little low shine to it. And just like before, you know, he just kind of wears it forward. Sometimes he pushes it back. What I love about, especially after you just perm it, like you can literally just let your freak flag fly and it looks cool. Like
Yeah.
literally, like he doesn't have to like push it to a certain side. He can just literally go out like this.
Yeah, you've been doing his hair for a while, so like how much is this helping, like better
He
support?
has very straight hair, so you know, sometimes you struggle with like kind of like putting that texture in there. So the fact that this perm literally enhances the haircut. It made his overall like look, one, easier at home, and two, it just looks really cool. Let's say. Okay, I can see that. Are we cutting this gentleman?
Yeah, I think we're wrapping up though. I mean, do we give you guys enough looks in what, 2 hours? Can you believe that? Done 3 looks. So we'll wrap up. Am I correct in that?
Yeah, we can wrap up this.
We'll start the
If
cut?
you guys want to hang out and watch the last cut, I'm happy to, but yeah, I just want to share real quick, at least with the Zoom folks, and we can show you guys too, what Alex's hair looks like, not permed. So you can really. see the
Yeah.
difference.
Technology.
So anyone who's on the Zoom, you should be able to see what his last haircut was as. Airdrop it to you.
You have no idea what you look like right now.
None of them. I know he was asking for mirror. I'm like, no.
Does he look good, you guys?
Oh my God.
You look amazing.
If there are any other questions on the Zoom, please feel free to add to chat.
in closing, I thank you to Jatai for giving me the best sting and papers on planet Earth. For Takara Belmont for letting us sit in all their chairs and use all their stuff. This place is so pretty. And for Reuzel for playing terms with us and
course.
just
I had fun.
lighting my like igniting these terms. Like what a good mashup. I'm thank you, Taylor, for being so brave and being like, all right,
We're doing this. Let's do it.
former firm hater to now firm
Yeah,
lover.
yeah, I never hated terms. Maybe in cosmetology.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
For all our guests, there's an additional 10% offering the VIP for our online store that we just launched, so I will be sure to show that to you on your way out.
Yay, thank you.
Thank you guys for having me. Yes, of course.
And we'll share the 10% off code with you guys. Do you want to talk about our packages? Our barber perm package?
So we do have a barber perm if you guys don't have profiles already, which is one of everything and includes the perm papers as
Wait,
well.
sorry, you're gonna have to start over and tell
Get closer.
tell the
audience.
friends online.
Yes, hello everyone. So with the Bassett or your distributor, whatever area you are in, we have one of everything with a I believe it's 11% discount, and you will get the perm papers as well. That
With the dispenser.
yeah, with the fancy Jatai dispenser that Janine just walked you through. So we'll be able to share with that with you guys as well after the Zoom.
All right, you want to switch?
Yeah.
Yes, she's working on it.
All right, thank you. Janine, you want to do one last little
Yeah,
for Zoom, folks?
so I am Janine Jarman, founder of Crocodile. Thank you guys for getting weird with me, coming to a perm barber class, right? Might be a
Is
first.
that the first of its kind?
I mean, maybe probably since the 80s at least, right? You know, it's important, like, I know this, we don't get a ton of time off, and the fact that you guys showed up online and showed up in person to further your education just speaks volumes to the level of hairdressers that you are, level of barbers that you are. And I hope you're inspired to take the tools we gave you today and just run with it. To attract new clients and to delight the ones that you have. So thank you for spending your time with me and with us, and thank you to the Crocodile team for just making AV magic happen. We are a tiny but mighty team. Takara Belmont, Jatai, Reuzel, Taylor, my
Thank
new
you guys on
bestie.
behalf of Reuzel for sure. Yeah, you guys are great.
Thank you.
Kevin, come up here. Let's get up here. He's only answering to Ed for now.
That's awesome.
All right, stand right here. And then face out. These are our finished product. We're gonna finish cutting this, but thank you, Zoom viewers, for logging on today.